If you're watching this video, you're probably a federal employee. And to say that 2025 has been a year of confusion, uh, surprises, and consternation is probably an understatement. The purpose of this video is to try and clear up a couple of items that you may be wondering about based upon a recent order that came out from the Supreme Court just this month. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, from the date this is being recorded. The Supreme Court issued an order. It's not a decision in the usual sense. It doesn't have a signature from a particular justice. And if you look at the article or the order itself, you'll find that it's 17, 18 pages long. And that's a bit of a surprise for a decision like this or an order like this. But the reason for that is most of it is a dissent from Justice Jackson. I'll get into that more in a minute. We just wanted to clear up a couple of things that may help you decide about your future in the government, help you make decisions that could affect your career, and to help you make the right decision for you, because as everybody's in a different position, and only you can decide what's best for you. The decision is called Trump versus AFGE. And what it amounts to is it allows large-scale RIFs and reorganizations throughout the government. The reason the order came out, and this is according to the Supreme Court, is that it concluded the government is likely to succeed on its argument that these directives are lawful and therefore it lifted an injunction that had been issued by a district court. Now, the directives that it's talking about, there's an executive order that came out on government optimization. There's some OPM guidance that came out about how to conduct a RIFs or what agencies should be doing to prepare for RIFs. And that's what's at issue here. You need to pay attention to the court statement because you're going to be reading articles from various organizations, and they basically say this is unfair, it's a threat to democracy, it's all kinds of things. The real question is, what is the legal issue that's involved and what's going to happen? The court has said in its decision, and I would take it as they've looked at this case, and at least upon a very quick reaction, they think that the government is likely to prevail in this argument to allow the RIFs to go forward. So as a practical matter, what this means is if you're in an agency and your agency is preparing for a RIF, and they probably are because OPM told agencies back in February to start preparing for RIFs and reorganizations. So that preparation is probably pretty far along. Based on this decision that's come out, some agencies are probably going to start implementing these RIFs and these reorganizations very quickly. That's what you have to plan on. There may be differences in your agency, obviously, and you can find out what's going on there. But for the government as a whole, RIFs are likely to be coming out. And one of the questions that we're going to get, and I've already gotten a couple like this on the article that was published on FedSmith today, and if you go to fedsmith.com, you'll see that article. There's a link to the Supreme Court order that's come out, and that's the order I'm talking about. One of the questions that came up is the court likely to overturn RIFs and reorganizations in the near future? And probably the person has read statements, arguments, press releases coming out from, it could be unions, other organizations, could be news organizations. And they're declaring that this decision, this order is unfair, it's a threat to democracy, etc. Ignore all that. What you need to look at is what is the court likely to do? How is it likely to affect you? Or what kind of decision are you going to be making in the near future with regard to your career? First of all, let's look at the issue. If you have a RIF in your agency and you are RIFed, can you appeal the decision that's made and how it affects you? The answer is possibly, even probably, because there is an appeal right to go to the Merit Systems Protection Board, or the MSPB. It doesn't apply to any decision that's made. If you're separated, if you're demoted, if you're furloughed for more than 30 days, you can probably go to the MSPB with an appeal, and you can make your argument and see if you can get it overturned. The next question that comes about is, can you go back to court? Can you take the agency's decision to RIF you to a court? Possibly. It's much less likely you're going to succeed at that level, but you can take it and see what the court says. To get a case before a court in a RIF-related action, you'd have to show a constitutional violation. Doesn't sound like that would be likely, but If you think you've got that argument, talk to your lawyer, make your decision, and move forward. Or you can challenge the legality of the executive order or the agency reorganization. There's already been a decision, initial decision or initial order from that on the court. Make your decision and then make your move. You can also make an argument to the court that you're part of a class action lawsuit or a union litigation. Perhaps that will get you somewhere. For most people, what you're going to end up doing is going before the MSPB if you're demoted, suspended, furloughed for more than 30 days. Now, some of the people are asking, what about this long dissent by Justice Jackson? How does that play? Well, what she said, and this is a quote from her decision, in my view, this decision is not only truly unfortunate, but also hubristic and senseless. Lower court judges have their fingers on the pulse of what's happening on the ground and are indisputably best positioned to determine the relevant facts, including those that underlie fair assessment of the merits, harms, and equities. That's a pretty strong dissent, and it's not the first strong dissent that Justice Jackson has come out with. In fact, it's led to some dissension on the courts that have been the topic of articles by legal experts. As an example, Justice Barrett, another Supreme Court justice, in another decision, not this one I'm talking about today, but she cited Justice Jackson just a few days ago as issuing a dissent on a startling line of attack that is tethered neither to precedent in the Constitution nor, frankly, to any doctrine whatsoever. These are fairly strong statements. They've been commented on by some legal experts, including some law professors. So I don't know that this dissent by Justice Jackson, despite its length, and despite being on an order and not on a final decision of the court, is going to have that much of an impact on what decision you need to make with regard to your future as a federal employee. What we do know for now, these RIFs are likely to go forward. You may have an appeal right to the MSPB. You probably do, because in most cases, if the agency's running the RIF, something's going to happen. The purpose of the RIFs is to reduce the size of the federal workforce. President Trump made that clear in the fact sheet that came out with the executive order and in the executive order itself. Plus, he made that comment numerous times running for president, and he wasn't kidding. He's intending to do that. He's moving out to do it. So you need to look at what is your position. Some people, particularly if you're a relatively new employee, you are much more likely to be RIF'd because your seniority is a whole lot less. If you're a veteran, you have some preferences. So your chances of being thrown out on the street looking for a new job is probably less than it is for some other employees. But we've been contacted or received notes from people that said, I've been offered a job, should I take it? We can't advise you on that one way or the other. We don't know what your future is in the government. We don't know what your future would be in the private sector. But you just need to step back, what's best for you, best for your family. Take into account this decision that's come out that's allowing the RIFs to go forward. It may be a precursor to the future, and it may have an impact on how you proceed as an employee of the federal government. Thanks for watching. For more information, check out the article on fedsmith.com on this and related articles. The decisions coming out cover a lot of things that involve the federal workforce. They're confusing. Some of the decisions seem contradictory between, say, the district courts, the courts of appeal, the Supreme Court. As we told you in an article or in a video also early in the year, the initial decisions aren't the ones that are final, probably. People, conservative, liberal, doesn't make any difference, will often choose a district court to go to where they think they're more likely to get a favorable decision. This recent order where the Supreme Court lifted the injunction came from a court in California. A lot of these cases are coming out of California, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC. That's not surprising. What is going to make the final decision is when the appeals are done, the decisions are issued. That won't be fast. It may take a few months. The Supreme Court may not issue more decisions till it goes back in session this fall. We wish you all the best of luck. We hope you make the decision best for you and your family. Thanks for watching.